I'd like to welcome Superintendent Terry Gage to the podium.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Pullman National Monument and State Historic Site. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate this important milestone. We have arrived, and what an amazing journey it has been. Yes, what an amazing journey it has been. One that began for many of us in 2015 when President Obama designated Pullman National Monument. For some of us, however, it's been a much longer journey to get to this point where we're officially dedicating and opening this beautiful visitor center and historic factory grounds. Today, you will hear from some of our partners and representatives on this stage who've worked tirelessly on this effort. But I also want to recognize some of the people and organizations who also played a critical role on this journey and who are here to celebrate with us in the audience. The Historic Pullman Foundation, represented today by President Joe Szabo and Executive Director Julian Jackson, has been working They have been working for decades to preserve and protect Pullman. The Pullman Civic Organization, led by President Rachel Smith, is a grassroots community group formed in the 1960s to save Pullman from industrial development and now works to preserve and promote the significance of the area. Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, led by President David Doig, has been working for years to promote economic growth and improve housing here in Pullman. The National Park Conservation Association, represented today by Lynn McClure and Sandra Washington, led the early planning efforts for Pullman and played a significant role in the 2015 designation. Metra, represented by Chairwoman Romaine Brown, is making major investments to improve the rider experience and accessibility at Pullman. And Mike and Pat Szymanski, who for over a half a century have championed the cause of historic preservation and have already been telling the Pullman story to multiple generations of visitors. I would also like to give a shout out to Amtrak, Metra, and the American Association of Private Car Rail Owners, who brought historic Pullman rail cars back to Pullman this past weekend for the grand opening celebration. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I would like to thank the hardworking group of National Park Service employees, many volunteers who worked so hard the past few days to make our grand opening celebration a success. And thank you to the incident management team, our regional director, Bert Frost, the team at the Historic Pullman Foundation, and our many partners who played a role in the grand opening event. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd also like to welcome the elected officials here in the audience today. And I have to tell you, I'm afraid I'm gonna leave someone out, so I apologize in advance if I miss anyone. But I do want to recognize U.S. Congressman Chuy Garcia, Illinois Secretary of State Jesse White, Secretary of State House Chris Welch, State Senator L.G. Sims, State Representative Robin Gable, State Representative Marcus Evans, State Representative Nick Smith, Alderwoman Susan Garza, Ms. Toni Preckwinkle, President of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, and I also want to recognize she is an appointed official and not an elected official, but I can't let her go unrecognized because she's been so important to the partnership here at Pullman. But Ms. Colleen Callahan, Director of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Many thanks to you all for your efforts in helping us reach this important milestone so that we can welcome the public to this site once again and to these important American stories. To many people, Pullman, the man, the rail car, the company, the town, are all important American stories that need to be told. But there is more to this site and its history that deserves exploration. Historic events and people here had an indelible influence on the labor movement and on the fight for civil rights in America. The Pullman community has a long history of being resilient, determined never to forget nor be forgotten. The National Park Service now has a place to work with our partners to share these stories with our visitors, to keep this important history from being forgotten, or worse yet, never told. We are excited to continue this journey, not just by inspiring people from around the world, from other places to visit us, but also by connecting with our community and our local schools on their more personal journeys and connections to Pullman. We look forward to continuing this journey with you, our partners, the state of Illinois, and the community for generations to come. But we cannot do this on our own. This is a partnership park in every sense of the word, including the public and private funding that has been invested in the site. Much of that private funding coming from generous donations through the National Park Foundation, without whom we would not be at this point in the journey. And now I invite Will Shafroth, the president of the National Park Foundation, to share more about their work on behalf of Pullman National Monument.
Thank you, Terry. And folks, Terry arrived midstream in this process, and I know I speak for everybody in the National Park Service and everybody on stage. What an amazing job she's done to get us today. I am truly honored to be here with friends and partners and the Pullman community, many of whom were instrumental in getting us to where we are today. And that's really what I want to speak about in my few minutes, which is the power of the partnership between the National Park Service, the Chicago Neighborhood Initiative, the state of Illinois, the National Park Foundation, and many other partners that together delivered critical investment, expertise, and community engagement to make this project a success. For our part, the National Park Foundation answered the call made by then Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell, who asked us to commit to raise at least $10 million in private funds that were needed for the restoration of this building over here and the grounds around it. Donors stepped up immediately to meet the need. Chief among them was the Pritzker Trobert Foundation, which contributed nearly $5 million to this effort in the very early stages of its project. Yeah. Penny and Brian, thank you for your leadership and your tremendous support of this place. Your support here at Pullman, I know, is but one example of how the Pritzker Trauber Foundation is helping to revitalize neighborhoods and support economic development throughout the Chicago region. Thank you again. Other members of the National Park Foundation family, Ellen Alberding and Kelly Welsh, Brian O'Brien and Mary Hassan and Barbara Neal, also made critical donations and provided essential support to the Pullman project over the last 6 years. Thank you all for all you've done. And there are a number of other donors that helped us get to the $10.5 million number that we ultimately raised in private funds. They're all acknowledged on the donor wall when you walk in the building over there, and check them out and thank them if you see them. But the ones that I really want to mention right now are the Union Pacific Foundation and the Fund 2 Foundation, each of whom made $1 million commitment to this project. Again, this coming together today of a broad diversity of funders is testament to the power of our national parks and the generosity of so many who see them as places of awe and wonder and places where we come together as a community and as a nation. They truly are our common ground as a people. What we celebrate today is a monumental commitment to community and to future generations. Thank you very much.
It is my honor to now introduce Dr. Lynn Hughes, founder of the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum. She and the executive director, David Peterson, have worked for more than 26 years to promote and elevate the stories of African Americans in the labor movement. Dr. Hughes?
No, I get to do like the guys, take the mask off on the cool side. Thank you so much. This day is really, it's not the culmination, but it's the beginning. I say that because 26 years ago, when I founded the museum, the presence of African Americans in labor, shall we say, was not abundant. But thanks to the big guy upstairs and friendship and collaboration and conversations and support from people across the spectrum, one of whom, after 20 years of work, showed himself in our space. He's a former director of the National Park Service, John Jarvis. He represents, to me, and even though he's retired, the epitome of integrity, sincerity. You could take what he says to the bank. He said to me, without an entourage in our space, Lynn, the National Park Service has every imaginable subject in their inventory, but what we don't have is Black labor history. What you have done here is magnificent, and you've done it on a shoestring. I applaud you, and I want to know if you will work with us. So I'm 20 years in the game, so I said, what does that mean? He said, I want you to be our partner. You're small, but you're very creative, and what you've done can lift us all up. We don't have money now, but we will have. And when we do, we're going to help you grow, because when you shine, we shine. I shook his hand. That was it. He left. I cried, of course, because it was the voice of sincerity and honesty. And so today, for me, represents the beginning of, shall we say, phase 2. Because what that means is now you've done all this marvelous work here, and now you can move to the north end of the monument so that we all can shine. The north end of the monument is 96% African American. And the goal is to have them, to make them feel like they're a part. And I want to say, I do not believe that that feeling would have manifested if it were not for Terry Gage. I just don't believe it would have happened. She is a different individual. She doesn't mind rolling up her sleeves, and she will walk the walk, not just lip service. I've seen her, I've observed her cautiously, and I'm convinced that she is the person who needs to be here at this time to open up sincere diversity and inclusion. She's working to make that happen. So any support in whatever your occupation, your realm, your work that you do, support her, because we need her and she needs us. I thank God for her. I thank all of the people who helped along the way, because this did not just happen. It was a collective over years. I came 25 years after Szymanski and his wife have done the work, but we put in the work. Because of the work that we've done, yes, I'm patting myself on the back, because of the work that we have done through the museum, we brought Showtime and Paramount Pictures. We brought Amtrak to take us across the country with our traveling exhibit, exposing this history of black labor across the country. And because of us, yes, because of us, there's a lot more people who know the history of A. Philip Randolph and the Pullman Porters, I am proud to say. And they said I had 2 minutes. I don't know if that's over or not, but but I thank you all. This is wonderful. It is indeed a good day. Thank you.
I swear I did not pay Dr. Hughes to say any of that. But thank you very much. That was very kind. I would like to introduce Alderman Tony Beal from the 9th Ward. We are fortunate to have the strong support of Alderman Beal in Pullman. He was a champion of the National Monuments designation and has been an advocate for adjacent city improvements, including lighting, sidewalk, new food services, bike sharing groups, and economic development that benefits both the area residents as well as park visitors. Alderman Beal.
Good morning. Good morning. That didn't sound right. Good morning. Good morning. It is another great day in the 9th Ward. And before I get started, let me just ask all the residents of the 9th Ward and the Pullman community, please stand and be recognized. Come on, community. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the true champions of today. Because in 1998, we had a little bit of a fire here that devastated our community. And that fire not only mobilized and organized this community more than you could ever know. And at the time, we were in the middle of a little bit of an automatic campaign. And on one side of the campaign, they were saying we need to demolish this structure and build a strip mall. And on the other side of the campaign, we said we need to preserve, protect, and promote history. Ladies and gentlemen, we're standing here today preserving, protecting, and promoting our history. So as a kid, riding my bike through Pullman, born and raised here, when I would ride my bike, I rode my bike because when I rode through Pullman, it seemed like I just went into a whole nother world. I didn't know about the history when I was growing up, but we're going to change that. We're going to make sure that every school in this area understands the history and the legacy of A. Philip Randolph and the Pullman Porters and Pullman as we move forward. And so as we move this train down the road, we have Speaker Welch here and we have the governor here and we have a few state reps and senators. I think we can call a quorum and pass some money because we're about $90 million short, Governor. If we can get $90 million more to finish this project. You all know I've never been shy about asking for money. Because we know in order to finish this edifice, we need 90 more million. And so we're asking for the state and the federal government to step up to the plate and give us 30 million for the next 3 years to get us to our goal. We've had over 8,000 tourists in this community in just the last 2 or 3 days. That is only the beginning. It is only the beginning of what we have to showcase here in the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and the United States of America. We want everybody to know what we have here in Pullman. And so Pullman residents, we're just getting started. We're just getting organized. We're just getting mobilized. So let's move forward and promote what we have as a gem in our community, and that is the Pullman National Monument. Thank you all so much, and God bless you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Robert Reiter, the President of the Chicago Federation of Labor.
Just first of all, I'll be another person here on the Terry Gage fan club, and also the assistant superintendent who was trying to point out to me, she thinks I put my mask on upside down. I grabbed the one CFL mask this morning that's actually sewn upside down. So, but these people are always looking out for you. And good morning. My name is Bob Reiter, and I am president of the Chicago Federation of Labor. The CFL represents 300 affiliate unions who in turn represent 500,000 working women and men in Chicago and Cook County. Isn't that cool? On behalf of union workers here in Chicago, happy Labor Day. And that's right. As I hope you've heard by now, the holiday of Labor Day has its roots right here. And I don't just mean right here in Chicago, literally right here in Pullman. We've all heard the story. Company owner George Pullman cut wages while maintaining high rents in the company town, squeezing workers until they could take no more. The workers went out and strike in 1894, paralyzing the national railway system, only to have the strike eventually crushed by the federal government. In an effort of reconciliation, President Grover Cleveland pushed through a holiday to remember and honor workers, Labor Day. But it's important to know that our campaign to have a Labor Day, not only here in Chicago, but across the world, had been going on for 20 or 30 years. So as workers celebrate Labor Day, whether it be the first Monday in September or May 1st, otherwise known as May Day, it's not because Grover Cleveland decided to make peace with us. It's because we had already been fighting for it. Because the labor movement fights on behalf of workers across this world every single day. And that is why even in the birth of Labor Day, we can see the tension between honoring workers and taking actual concrete steps to support workers. That is why today, as we celebrate Labor Day in this beautiful monument to workers, we cannot overlook the steps we all must take to support these workers every single day. You Supporting workers means supporting elected leaders who will pass laws to raise the minimum wage, promote the freedom for workers to organize, and provide benefits like predictable schedules and paid sick leave. And I thank every single elected leader and every activist who's here today who's helped us do that, including the folks on this stage. You see, supporting workers means backing workers when they go on strike, like we've seen here recently in Chicago with the Teamsters, the auto mechanics, and the bakery workers at Nabisco. I urge everyone here to respect those picket lines. And respecting workers is not just platitudes, because talk is cheap. It's action on the street and living our values. And supporting workers means working for a fairer economy for everyone, where we start to close the gap between those at the top, like George Pullman, and those at the bottom, like the workers who went on strike. Because those workers who are on bottom, they may be on the bottom of the economic scale, but they're the ones who we lift to the top, because they're the ones who lift our communities. People like one of my personal heroes, and you know, there's a section of the exhibit dedicated to him here at the Visitor Center. And Dr. Hughes talked about the museum in his honor just north of the National Monument, because one of my personal heroes was a radical trade unionist. We've got to make sure we don't sanitize the history of A. Philip Randolph, because A. Philip Randolph was not just a figure to be revered because he was a leader of the sleeping car porters. He was a guy that forced change, not only here in Chicago, but across the country, starting in New York. And he was not some friendly labor organizer. He was a disruptor and a person that we should all honor and remember and try to do a little disrupting ourselves. We at the CFL are celebrating our 125th birthday this year. As we were organized in 1896, just 2 years after the Pullman strike, we're proud of our legacy of fighting for economic, racial, and social justice, and we're proud of our history in Chicago and in Pullman. So please, I urge you, as you step into this beautiful national monument, remember the struggle of workers in the 18th and 19th centuries, and take real, concrete steps to support workers of the 21st century, like helping us to pass the Richard L. Trumka PRO Act, and passing statewide here, not in the not too distant future, the Workers' Rights Amendment, where we start to take back and protect workers no matter where they come from, no matter who they are, but we protect them because they're one of us. And again, happy Labor Day. Enjoy this tribute to the working class of the city of Chicago, this country, this world, and remember what you can do to lift those workers up every day.
So I've had a request to make sure that everyone understands that Pullman National Monument is not just the clock tower building. The boundary of the monument extends all the way from 103rd Street on the north to 115th on the south, and from the Norfolk Southern tracks on the east over to Cottage Grove on the west. And it encompasses a very vibrant, diverse, resilient community of private landowners and renters. It's a very vibrant community that is included in the monument. We're not just a building. So, okay. Let's see here. It is now my pleasure to introduce someone that I know does not need an introduction to any of you. City of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
I think it's still morning, so good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Happy Labor Day, and for those who are paying attention at home, this is also my beloved mother's 93rd birthday, so it's a special day for me as well. On behalf of the great city of Chicago and the communities of Pullman and Roseland, it's my great pleasure to welcome you here today. As you'll hear more about, this incredible community has long been at the crossroads of the labor movement here in the United States. 141 years ago, Pullman became the nation's first industrial planned community, also home to America's first all-black labor union. And if you go into the exhibit, what you're going to see is a very diverse workforce, which at the time was highly unusual. This community helped put Chicago and Illinois on the map as industrial age powerhouses and served as a backdrop for the historic strike that would reignite labor and civil rights movements across the country, rally people against workplace exploitation, and lead to Labor Day becoming a federal holiday. We owe it to the Pullman community and our entire nation to not only preserve this important history, but uplift this neighborhood to its rightful place in our city's cultural and economic life. Cutting the ribbon to this new visitor center for the Pullman National Historic Site, which is Chicago's only national park, will help us do just that, as you've already heard, by attracting visitors from near and far. This builds on our ongoing city initiatives, such as Invest Southwest, our $750 million economic investment engine, and restore the social economic vibrancy of neighborhoods like Pullman, which was once named the ideal city of the world. The rich history of the Pullman strike truly illustrates how critical it is to listen and address the needs of our workers, who make up the backbone of our city and our country. And I think President Ryder clearly underscored the importance of working people to this city, not just historically, but now and into the future. And you heard at the beginning, the superintendent listed a long list of folks, both private donors, elected officials, and others who are responsible for us being here in this day and marking this great milestone in the history of the Pullman community. What you know from that and should take away is it's not just the work of one why we are here. It is the work of many over many years who have been toiling to make sure that we preserve the history for our children to understand the importance of the Pullman community to Chicago and to the United States. You know this, but it bears repeating. The book of American history has many important chapters with Chicago at the forefront. And with the opening of this visitor center, another important chapter in that book is being written. I will also want to say that this investment will redound to the benefit of the Pullman and Roseland communities for generations to come. It's an important investment, but it can't be the only one, and it will not be. We will continue to make sure that we uplift the quality of life of the people in Pullman and also in Roseland. We will never forget the importance of these communities. They're far away at times from what seems like the center of Chicago life, but truly they are at the very beginning. They are important to us, and we've got to continue to make sure that we make those investments. And I believe coming up, thank you. I'm going to steal a little bit of the superintendent's thunder. The next speaker that you're going to hear from is Congresswoman Robin Kelly. We would not be standing here today without the hard work of Robin Kelly to make sure that the investments were made at the federal government level. Sometimes she doesn't get the credit that she deserves, but I want to make sure for all who can hear me in the sound of my voice that we don't forget that Robin Kelly is important to the future of our city and particularly to the South Side. So I think I'm going to invite her up to speak. Is that all right? Congresswoman Kelly.
I didn't pay her to say that either. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, for that introduction. And good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here with us on this very joyous day as we celebrate the grand opening of the Pullman National Monument. Alderman Beal likes to say, welcome to the 9th, and I want to say welcome to the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois. I especially want to thank my former colleague, Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland, and my great friend for being here with us today. And we are very lucky because she just got married a week ago and she chose to be with us. It is so fitting that we are gathered here today on Labor Day to celebrate the legacy and impact that the Pullman neighborhood has had on our country. Bob Ryder told all the story about Pullman, so I won't repeat that. But all American workers owe so much to the generation of workers at Pullman and the Pullman Porters. We are especially grateful to the Pullman Porters for their work as some of the early leaders of the civil rights movement. It doesn't seem that long ago, but we were so thrilled when President Obama designated Pullman Chicago's first national monument. The honor of having this national monument right here in this city is a testament not only to the American laborer, but to the many, many residents of Pullman who have worked tirelessly for decades to keep this neighborhood's rich history alive. You know about Lynn Hughes and you know about Mike, and there are many others, but I know you two have worked so hard. Thank you for your early advocacy and vision in reviving this vital resource in our community. In Congress, I'm working with my colleague and my friend, the one and only Dick Durbin, on furthering this neighborhood's rich history by advancing legislation, because we don't want Pullman to just be a monument. We want it to be a national park and raise this community's profile. We want Pullman to be among the national crown jewels. I myself am looking forward to taking tours of the trains, Hotel Florence, and the A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porters Museum, which I've been to many times. I know tourists from across the country and the world will come here and enjoy the powerful history of this neighborhood and the kindness of this community. This monument is and will be an economic driver for our city and for the whole state of Illinois. I am so very proud to represent this wonderful community in Congress, and I look forward to the growth this national monument, and I'm going to say park, will drive for the entire region. To the Pullman community, thank you all so much for your passion, your determination, and your focus. And I'm going to take a point of personal privilege in closing and thanking someone that couldn't be here today, Tanya Cohn, who works for Metra. I know that she was a big part of putting this together. And I want to give my shout out to Terry also for all the work that you have done. And I'll continue to steal your thunder. And with that, I will now turn things over to my friend, my colleague. I always tell him that he may be second in the Senate, but he's first in our hearts, Senator Dick Durbin.
I'm so lucky to have Robin Kelly introducing me. She's such a dear friend, and she played such a key role when it came to the creation of this national monument. She organized the House Democrats and others who joined in that effort, and she is continuing to do that to this day. She mentioned to you that I've introduced legislation in the Senate. She's introduced it in the House to make this a national historic park, and the difference is significant. We want to make sure there's no question about the future of this area and how it's going to grow in cooperation with the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois to really honor the great traditions that we associate with the Pullman Historic Site. You know, when you think about Labor Day, you think about a living wage, don't you? And you think about people who have a safe workplace and children who aren't working in that workplace. You think about a kind of arrangement where people can have a 40-hour work week and have overtime paid and have weekends off. Those are all things we just take for granted. We shouldn't. They started here. They started here in 1894 when the workers finally said, we're standing up and we're going to change things. And as Bob Ryder has told us, they paid a heavy price for that decision. But today, millions and millions of the workers in the United States and around the world are benefiting from that too. And when it came to A. Philip Randolph and the sleeping car porters, they weren't just leaders in the labor movement, the first black union to be recognized in collective bargaining, but they were messengers too. You ever heard of that newspaper called the Chicago Defender? You wonder how it was delivered into the South and around the country in areas where there was a resistance to even deliver it on the regular postal service. The sleeping car porters took them on the trains and they dropped them off all over the South as part of the beginnings of the civil rights movement. You see, that's what's behind this discussion today. It isn't just a matter of where we were, it's where we want to be. We want to have a more diverse and inclusive society. We want workers, black, white, and brown, men and women, all the people across America, to have an opportunity that was created right here at Pullman. I'm honored to be part of it. I'm honored to join with my good friend Robin in putting together this national park legislation, along with my great colleague, Senator Tammy Duckworth, who is a co-sponsor of that too. I want to make sure you know that. I want to tell you it's my honor to represent a man who, as governor of this state, stood up for his first major piece of legislation was an increase in the minimum wage in Illinois. It tells you where his heart is. Let me welcome the governor of the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker.
Well, it is a real honor to get introduced by Dick Durbin. Thank you very much, Dick, and thank you for your kind introduction. And it is true that the first thing that we fought for when I became elected to the governorship was not just raising the minimum wage, but raising the minimum wage to $15, to a living wage for every worker in the state of Illinois. And I'm really thrilled to be able to celebrate Labor Day right here with all of you. The Pullman National Monument is historic, not just for its origins as one of America's first planned industrial communities. You've heard that, and of course, sleeping cars produced here, but even more so for its role, its historic role in the fight to establish collective bargaining rights and the black trade union movement. Overworked and underpaid, Pullman strikers, A. Philip Randolph, put not only their livelihoods, but frankly their lives on the line to fight for a just workplace and fair wages, and were greeted by a horrifically violent retort from the federal government. But I want to remind you all that the first progressive, pro-worker governor of the state of Illinois stood with the workers when the federal government was coming after them, stood up for them, defended them, took this to court to try to keep the federal government from sending troops to Illinois to fight against the workers. Now, the courts overruled the governor, but the Pullman strikers were undaunted. The governor standing with them, they fought. Their legacy of righteousness lives on in the work of union members today, community organizers, civil rights leaders. It's a legacy that this site can impart to its visitors and must, as we all will stand together to send that message across the world. Because economic justice, that's what the message should be of this Pullman site. That's why Illinois has led decades of efforts to preserve and protect Pullman since our purchase of this site 30 years ago. In 2015, we were proud to join forces with the National Park Service as a partner in preservation, transferring the administration building to Park Service ownership and receiving an honorary national monument designation from President Obama. And since that initial partnership not long ago, state and federal agencies have invested millions and millions of dollars into restoration and preservation, transforming the Pullman Palace Car Works grounds, removing contaminated soil, ensuring the site is accessible and enjoyable for visitors of every age and ability. Today, together with the Park Service, Illinois is proud to mark another major milestone in honoring the legacy of the strikers and preserving their world, their struggles, and the stories for America. The opening of the new Pullman National Monument Visitors Center. The creation of this center is about more than just the historic preservation of buildings and grounds at Pullman. It's an investment in the education of the next generation of organizers and business leaders and civic-minded Americans. As families, schools, and historians return to its streets to examine and learn about the past, I hope that they leave inspired to bring people together in their communities, build intersectional movements for justice, and stand up for the rights of workers across the entire nation. It's now my intense pleasure and privilege to introduce a leader whose work to preserve the cultural and natural legacy of our nation is an inspiration to us all. I want to congratulate her on her historic appointment to the Cabinet of the United States and her recent wedding, Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Mr. President, happy Labor Day. And happy Labor Day to all of our friends in labor. And hello, everyone. Thank you for that very kind introduction, Governor. It's so wonderful to be here. And not my first trip to Chicago, but always a wonderful trip when I'm able to visit. I'm so grateful to be here with so many leaders who have made today possible. I'm honored to be on the stage with the wonderful folks moving this wonderful place forward. And thank you, Madam Superintendent, for all of your leadership. It's wonderful. And I'm happy to be here also with so many people who have made it their life's work to tell the story of America through our public lands. I thank our incredible National Park Service employees for their hard work, employees and volunteers for their hard work that led to today, and for the work they do every single day to tell America's story and to make visitors feel welcome. I also thank our amazing partners who worked so hard to make this weekend a fantastic success. I am very honored and proud to be here with my former colleagues, Chuy Garcia, there at the end. Thank you. It's so wonderful to see you. And also with my sister, Robin Kelly. Always happy to be in her company and absolutely recognize that her hard work reverberates all over the country for so many of us. And I'm very proud to be here with you as well. This site holds an incredible history that is particularly significant today as we honor American workers on Labor Day. In fact, the Labor Day holiday, as we have heard through the speakers today, was recognized because of the Black workers who struggled for their rights at this very factory. The labor movement is dear to my heart. I was once a Teamster, but as an organizer, I worked alongside my labor family to mobilize people, to get involved, to learn their workplace rights, and to come together to make positive change. It has always been a labor of love because we know that the change we seek will make people's lives better for generations and generations to come. Over many years, we'd gather teachers, machinists, letter carriers, and postal workers, plumbers, workers of all trades and all colors to collectively move our communities forward. Marginalized communities have always been a part of the struggle for workers' rights, from women and children working in factories, to immigrants working in the fields, to the freed African Americans who were hired to work as porters right here on this site. Today, I am also thinking about my grandparents who sacrificed time away from our community, products of the assimilation era, to help build our country. My grandfather as a 45-year diesel train mechanic, and my grandmother who led a team of women to clean diesel train engines and thus keep the trains running on time. All of this is part of our history. We are all descendants of people who worked incredibly hard to give us opportunities, and we must carry that torch well into the future. With the dedication of this site in 2015, President Barack Obama took a major step toward recognizing the full history of this country by honoring the Black workers who fought for fair wages, reasonable hours, and the dignity and respect they deserved. Today, on Labor Day, we take another step in realizing the vision for this site by opening this beautiful visitor center on the factory grounds, where those workers started a movement that led to the first major labor agreement between an American company and an African American union. Yes, that deserves applause. But the word that comes to mind for me in that struggle and the people who worked so hard to make that happen for future generations is really amen. Amen. It was the struggle right here that laid the groundwork for future movements for civil rights. Today, we recognize those workers and all workers. They are the backbone of our country. Unions are the force that ensures the folks who keep our economies moving have what they need: support, benefits, and a collective community standing up for them. In the midst of this horrible pandemic, our country has recognized the importance of frontline workers, those who pick the food we put on our tables, teach our children, keep our communities safe, care for the sick, and put themselves at risk to keep our families healthy. It's with the power of our workers that our economy will continue to recover. And it is our responsibility, all of us here, to continue to use our respective platforms to advocate for workers, to carry on the legacy of this monument, to stand with workers across America. I am honored to share this incredible milestone with you on this Labor Day. Thank you for being here to celebrate the contributions of the Pullman workers, of labor unions, and to honor our commitment to tell America's story. I hope you all have a wonderful day today, walking the perimeter of this beautiful space, and I thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Haaland, for being here today. We are so honored that you could join.